So I'm delighted this morning to be with Ben Keenan. Rather than me hogging the limelight, I'm just going to introduce Ben very briefly. Ben, who I've been introduced through Claire Norwood, first of all, so massive thanks for Claire introducing me to Ben. So Ben's got an interesting background in terms of property law, in terms of negotiation and massive deals. You know, I call Ben the master negotiator. So, but Ben is also active in Broadwing. Some of you may have seen the likes of Carl Spencer, Emmanuel Ezekiel. Is that close enough?
It's
Ezekiel?
close. I think it's Ezekiel.
Ezekiel. So, um, so interesting in terms of the partners who've come together to form Broadwing. What would you say Broadwing is about, Ben? Is it a developer? Is it a micro developer? Boutique developer? Where do you sit in terms of development space?
Uh, well, frankly, I'm not sort of one for labels generally because I think it's very easy to put yourself in a box that you can't get out of. And we're more opportunistic. So we're looking for opportunities in different sectors. And sometimes you're looking at mixed use schemes instead of residential. Sometimes you're looking at assisted care living. We don't necessarily label ourselves as residential developers, although that's really what we've focused on so far. We're looking at developing affordable contemporary homes in London and the home counties.
Okay. And in terms of some of your sites I've seen on Facebook, haven't been there yet. I'm sure I will do at some point. I think one of them is in Acton, is that right? One of the
Yeah,
sites
that's
which
right.
you're working on. So that's close to home. Why Acton? What made you go for Acton first of all, Ben?
Well, when we actually acquired that site, we actually, and this is sort of going back 18 months, I think we'd taken the view that London was significantly overpriced and it was very difficult to find opportunities in London. This one was an exception. We basically bought it from a distressed seller. They had enormous amounts of debt on the site, and they were probably weeks away from having receivers called in. So it took a little bit of fancy footwork on our part and some detailed conversations with their lenders to be able to secure that site. But it's a fantastic site. I think London has obviously all the fundamentals going for it. That particular site is right near Crossrail, where the Crossrail station will open up. And, we think it'll be a fantastic investment for us and for our investors.
And do you want to just explain what the development is in terms of size, in terms of how it's configured?
Yeah, it formerly was 2 factories, which we've had to retain the facade, and basically it's knocked down rebuild for the internals. We've got planning consent to build 9 residential units. It's a mix of 1, 2, and a small number of 3-bed apartments. We've gone into planning, seeking permission for a 10th unit, which we think we'll get. And these are probably on the slightly higher end of the specification of what we'd normally build. But the plan is that all of the units, once complete, will be valued up within the Help to Buy framework.
Okay, so that is one of the key differentials between yourself and some other developers, although it's quite a popular scheme for developers to be involved in Help to Buy, so it's not necessarily just what you're doing, but others as well. Ben, in terms of the opportunities in the market and where you see yourself going, I have to admit I'm slightly distracted by all the suitcases. It looks like you must be heading off somewhere.
Just coming back.
Oh, just coming back. Okay. In terms of opportunities in the market, where do you see the market going in the short, 3 to 6 months, and going a little bit longer into the future? And it's interesting you mentioned commercial and care homes. So care homes, I didn't know you had an interest in. So if you can just elaborate on that, that'd be fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're, as I say, we're opportunistic and we're looking for good investments where the fundamentals are strong. And I think assisted care living is a fantastic example of that. We've got an aging population, that's fairly obvious, we all know that. And it's, as the baby boomers get older and retire, they're a fairly affluent, cashed up class of people. So I think the offering for old age pensioners is going to change. And I think there really is going to be a market for, better designed facilities with much better amenities. And so we're looking at some of those opportunities at the moment.
Okay, I'm slightly biased, Ben. One of my exhibitors at a commercial property summit is a care home specialist, interior design. So that's why I'm pushing you on that just slightly. My commercial summit on the 7th of March, and you're speaking about 8 days or 9 days before.
That's right.
Or you're on the panel rather than speaking this time on opportunities in the market primarily. So care homes is certainly one thing you're looking at. How much have you really looked? Is it in London or is it outside of London where you see the opportunities?
I think at the moment, I mean, so far as care homes are concerned, that's probably more of a reconnaissance mission. Our major play at the moment is still in residential development. We see opportunities now starting to come back into London. It's an interesting time. So I think last year was very choppy and uncertain. I think the spectre of Brexit hung over the market. And what I think has happened now is that as a consequence of the election, people feel a little bit more certain about how things are going to play out. Now, whether or not they're justified in having that certainty is debatable. But speaking with brokers recently, they're saying that there's a lot of new lending products coming onto the market. So a lot of lenders now are willing to offer much more favourable terms than they were at the back end and throughout last year. So what that suggests to me is if that theme plays out for much longer, you're going to see a lot more liquidity coming back into the market. It's going to be, and that's going to unlock a lot of developments which were previously difficult to fund. So I think it's going to be a really interesting time. I think you'll see a fairly active market. It might even make it harder to find good sites on sensible terms. But I think if you can find them, I think there'll be a fairly resilient market on the back end for the sales.
So, Ben, in terms of geographical spread, I just want to make sure the listeners are aware, because it's not just yourself who's Broadwings, it's Carl Spencer and also Emmanuel as well. From my understanding, after meeting up with you a number of times, Carl's background is slightly outside of London. Is that right? Cambridge, Peterborough area?
Yeah,
or knowledge
right.
base is there?
Yeah, that's
so
right.
that's why Broadwing potentially may be doing development sites outside of London as well.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we're not builders ourselves. So any development that we get involved with, we're going to make sure that we've got fantastic builders, and we already have a fantastic project manager and employees agent who oversees all of our projects. So in one sense, it's not essential that it's within easy travel distance for any of the three partners. What's far more important is that we've got people that can deliver the projects for us. And therefore, it's really opportunity driven rather than it's dictated by particular locations. We're finding at the moment we're getting a whole range of different deals being brought to us from different channels. Some of them, partly it's driven by increasing profile for our company, and so people are approaching us with deals. And also you just begin to develop better relationships with agents and professionals who have deals coming to them.
So just to elaborate, Ben, for a moment, and I did promise it would be 10 minutes, so coming towards the end, because I know you've got a busy 9 o'clock onwards, so massive thanks for taking time out. In terms of, you mentioned agents and other professionals, so for those who are new to the industry, who are thinking, who are the other professionals, who are you network with, where you network, who are those other professionals, not in terms of names, but in terms of sectors, in terms of industries? Is it more property lawyers, or is it some other property professionals?
Yeah, it's effectively professional team that you surround yourself with to deliver your project. So that ranges from a really good property lawyer, a property accountant, planning consultant, architects, interior designers, structural engineers, you name it. There's a whole army of people that you ultimately need to have around you. And it's funny, you begin to develop those relationships. Those relationships begin to become solid and built around trust. And then they start to be more than just a transactional relationship. They start bringing you with opportunities. If there's a planning consultant or an architect, for example, who's working on a scheme, and they know that their client on that scheme doesn't want to build it out and is potentially looking for a buyer, well, they bring it to us. And likewise, if there's a solicitor working on a deal, he's advising a bank, the borrower is in distress, well, then sometimes we get access to information about that. So it's really just building up this circle of people who know that you're active and know that you're a buyer.
Mm. Ben, you're a property lawyer yourself, so how much do you give out to someone else, or is it quite a significant amount you would give out to work to other property lawyers?
I try to give it out, all of it out, actually, to be honest, Brendan. When I started a property development company, I didn't want to stay on the tools. I didn't see that's where I was going to be adding the most value, and spending a huge amount of time combing through every document, I just didn't see the value in that. Although, having said that, I still do read over documents that are being prepared by our lawyers just to see, just as a second set of eyes.
Okay. Ben, I promise it would be a short video because I know you've got a busy agenda. I look forward to seeing you. I can't believe it's next Thursday already. So it depends when the listeners are listening to this. So please don't. London Bridge Hotel, the 27th of February. It's an easy venue to get to. Tickets online. Look at my website, bquinevents.com. I haven't even said to you, Ben, how can people reach out to you? What's your preferred method of communication?
I'm pretty old school, so email works best for me. So if you want to reach me, my email address is ben@broadwinghomes.co.uk.
So that's how to connect with Ben, of course, to come along to the Central London Property Network on the 27th of this month as well. Ben, I just want to say a massive thanks for taking time out today. Massive thanks to the listeners. And if you've got interesting people for me to speak to, like Ben, then get in contact at, a great technology. I love using Zoom. And massive thanks, Ben, and thanks to our listeners out there as well. Thank you.
Very welcome. Thanks, mate.